Going to show you how to install drush to work with backdrop CMS. And if you're only going to use drush on backdrop and not have to switch back and forth between Drupal, you can follow the instructions in the README in the backdrop-contrib drush repo. This video is going to show you how to install an independent drush so that you can work with backdrop and Drupal at different times. This is backdropcms.org, where you can find the latest and greatest information about backdrop CMS. We're also going to use the drush GitHub repo to download an independent version of drush that we'll use with our backdrop install. And that won't work out of the box, so we need this drush extension, which is in the backdrop-contrib/drush repo, also hosted on GitHub. And I have a fresh installation of backdrop 1.3.2 in order to test our drush commands that we have so far. So the first thing that you're going to want to do is get your independent drush from GitHub, and we have to work on the latest master branch. So we'll get this code base. If you go over to your terminal, and I'm in my home directory, so I'm going to git clone this code down, and I'm going to clone it into a directory called BD for backdrop. Once that's done, I will move into that directory. So CD in there. This is our drush code. It's a second copy of drush code here that I can use with my backdrop site. And we have to use Composer to install the latest drush. So we're on the master branch here. And we're going to do Composer install to get the dependencies to make drush work for us. So that's great. That should work just fine on a Drupal 8 site. What we're going to do now is make an alias to that. So I'm going to go into my bash profile and add a new alias here. You can do this in any text editor. So I'm going to call it BD for backdrop, and I'm going to point that to that new drush install that we just made. It's in my home directory, and I made a directory called BD, and inside there the executable is called drush. I'm going to use the alias BD to execute that. And to get that to work, we have to reload that file. And now we have an alias for BD. I'm going to open a new tab here, and I'm going to CD to my backdrop install. And I'm going to, so if you just try to fire that up, you see that it doesn't, so that's just drush, it doesn't detect the backdrop installation. So we're going to go and get that backdrop drush extension, also on GitHub. So get the URL for that, and I'm going to go back to my tab here where I am in the fresh drush install. So I'm going to CD into commands, and I'm going to clone the backdrop drush extension in here. So git clone, and I copied that URL. And I'm going to clone it into a folder called backdrop. So if I go in there, I'm on the master branch of that. So that's also under version control, a little subfolder. So you can see in there that we have some commands that are rewritten for backdrop. So this is where, for example, the download command lives. So now, if we go back to our backdrop site, you can see that we can clear the cache, and I've got no contrib modules right now, but for example, if we do bd dl on the web, it goes out and fetches from GitHub. So you can see that now we have the on the web code. If we go to our backdrop site, functionality, backdrop recognizes that. We can install it and use the on the web module. You can also download multiple modules like form, redirect, Google Analytics. And now we have the code for each of those modules. Oh, we got to refresh this. Analytics, redirect. Oops, did I not download Devil? I did not. Web form. And we can enable those modules as we like. I hope that helps if you need to work with Backdrop and Drupal. Thanks.